did want to talk a lot about the Arizona Coyotes because
We
I'm not
love
wearing
them.
my
We love
I'm
them
not
very
wearing my
much.
Arizona Coyotes jersey today, but it is upstairs. I should have, but I felt like I didn't want to double dip 2 weeks in a row. But I don't know about you. I think I might be, putting the wagon on the road for me to hop onto and go for a ride this year because they are a really, really fun team to watch. I keep banging the drum. I think I'm on an island on this about just how much I really enjoyed my experience at Mullet Arena. And that wasn't even for an NHL game. And how much, I mean, there aren't very many of them, but how much Coyotes fans really seem to, and people in Arizona seem to love hockey. And now that they have a team that could feasibly make the playoffs potentially, that's such a huge step forward from last year that I can't help but just get behind them, especially considering the names on the teams or the names on the team. So you mentioned as well, last 5 Stanley Cup champions, they've beat them. Was that the last 5 games in a row they've done that?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
that's kind of hilarious.
Knocked out Vegas, St. Louis, Washington, Tampa, and I'm forgetting one right now probably.
That's good enough. That's a lot. And that's a good start. Oh, in Colorado. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. I also noticed that just looking through how many goals teams score by periods, they're second in first period goals, sixth in second period goals, but amongst the league worst in third period goals. So when it comes to getting out of the gate and playing, not many teams in the league are better than the Arizona Coyotes this year, which is surprising. Now it's only a 20 game sample, so maybe things change a little bit, but like that's pretty notable and probably a big driver of why they are where they are. On the defensive side of things, again, 16th in first period goals against. So first period seems to be a little bit of a wagon hockey for them. Second period and third period, though, they're 10th. So pretty much across the board in situations that really seem to matter, they're in the top half of the league. So I don't know what's happening in the third period, but if there's something there with the Coyotes, it's that they're performing at a level well enough and scoring goals and playing enough defensively that they should be in the mix for the playoffs. Their power play is 6th in the league. Their penalty kill is about middle of the league. They're in the top 10 of teams, least time they've spent trailing in an NHL game this year, which is also very good. Something the Toronto Maple Leafs are still struggling to do if we want to keep talking about the Leafs all day. But I mean, just talking about specific players, I mean, you can just go up and down the lineup and go, oh yeah, that guy's been playing pretty well. Like that, and then you get to their top line, Clayton Keller. Now it's Logan Cooley, but it was Barrett Hayton and Nick Schmaltz. Nick Schmaltz.
Yes, it's Nick Schmaltz.
There's a lot of Schmaltzes and Schwartzes and Schweltzes and whatever. But yeah,
are there?
So those, I don't know. I feel like there was another Schwartz or Schmaltz that I mixed up all the time. But anyway, so Keller, Cooley, Schmaltz is their top line right now.
It's awesome. I mean, watching them is so much fun.
And they're so much fun to watch. I mean, Clayton Keller's a guy that I've been a fan of since he was drafted. You can absolutely see why through all the chaos with the Coyotes that Clayton Keller's still there.
100%.
Through this whole time, I've sort of gone, well, they haven't traded Clayton Keller yet. They've traded everyone else. So either they really love him and they're going to keep trying to work with him, or other teams either are underrating him or thinking they can trick the Coyotes into trading for him and pay them less than he's worth because he wasn't, he was on that contract, wasn't scoring a ton of points until I would say last year or the year before. But now all bets are off the table. He's now got some toys to play with and he is off and running. I love watching Clayton Keller play hockey. That's a guy we probably should highlight in a more detailed profile.
But
sure. Just his ability to make separation and get passes through the zones. Like I watched them last night on the power play. There was a goal that Logan Cooley scored. And Keller just went off of his edges a little bit and cut into the offensive zone, 5 or 6 feet real quick. And then just threaded a pass through the seam that created. And those are the kinds of things that a guy like Clayton Keller just thinks of and does that really, really make a difference. And just the skill level he's got, if there's anyone that Logan Cooley could learn from, it's Clayton Keller. And Schmaltz is another great addition. He's a rock solid hockey player, just a really good possession 200-foot guy. We certainly saw all the comments that Habs fans have been leaving about how different Logan Cooley is to Uri Slafkovsky.
Cooley's way better. Cooley's just way better.
Cooley has been definitely there's a learning curve. There's a learning curve for Cooley, I think, in terms of especially defensively. There have been some moments where I think he can get caught, not puck watching, but like puck chasing, and kind of lose sight of what's going on around him in the defensive end, and just how quickly NHL offenses can capitalize on holes and gaps and trailing forwards and everything. And if you're not, if you don't have your head on a swivel, you can get caught pretty quick.
Sure.
And I see that a bit. Yes.
You can look at everything else he does and realize just how awesome it is.
I know. I'm not saying he's bad.
And be saying he's bad. Okay, well, you go learn how to play defense a little bit, but keep doing what you're doing offensively and refine it, because you are going to be so awesome and sell this game in this market for us. And I think that's a big reason that they've kept Clayton Keller, is that's how you sell the game of hockey. 100%. Speed and skill. Look at Connor McDavid. He's fast, he's skilled, he's incredible. Clayton Keller, obviously not the same caliber of player as Connor McDavid, but he is disgusting to watch. My brother and I just set aside time where we watch Arizona Coyote games because they are just so much fun and entertaining to watch because of the skill you see out of a Logan Cooley and a Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller. And then Sean Durzee's been good too, right? Yeah,
Sean Durzee's been good.
And they've got a lot of former Leafs that I have soft spots for. Like, I always really liked Alex Kerfoot, and he's been
9
doing
points
great
in his last 4 games.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
3 assists in that game against Washington.
And some of them were really nice too. Like some of those points he put up were really, really, like, it's those Alex Kerfoot moments where you're like, yeah, he's capable of doing that kind of high-end stuff. Like, once in a while, you just see a play where you're like, oh, now I see why he was such a prized free agent for a while and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, he's really awesome. And I'm very sad that he's no longer a Maple Leaf, but I also understand why they had to move on from him.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. And he got a good deal with Arizona too.
Yeah.
Like, and Arizona's not a bad place to play hockey, if you ask me.
Yeah, and they've even got guys like Matias Michelli, who is criminally underappreciated and just one of the better.
Yeah.
Well, he's just criminally underappreciated and a really great passer of the puck. And he works off of Kerfoot. I think that's who he plays with. They work off of each other really nicely. And I just want to give Matias Michelli some more love because he's really fun.
Yeah, he is. And I've also really liked the play of guys that are hurt now, but Barrett Hayton and Travis Boyd.
Yeah, they look
especially
good.
Defensively. Like, they don't have a ton of points. And I remember I had to watch a little bit of Arizona Coyotes hockey down the stretch last year when they were doing a lot better than the first half of the year, as far as I can recall. And I thought that Barrett Hayton played really, really well in those games, the games I saw this year with him in it. I thought he played really, really well in the bits that I saw of him this year. Same thing with Travis Boyd, like, again, former Toronto Maple Leaf. But, you know, I always thought he was a good possession guy, just a good enough skill, good enough smarts, good enough sort of pace in their game that they can play possession hockey, challenge defensively, play hard. Barrett Hayton, I think, you know, is an interesting case study, I think, where, he's not scoring a ton of points, but he also got injured after 4 points in 5 games. So that is a note that you should put out there. But I remember when he was drafted, and it kind of surprised everyone that he went so high. And on one hand, they said no to a lot of pretty good players and drafted Barrett Hayton, and he's taken a really long time to become I would say, quite serviceable NHLer. But it's very interesting to see a guy like him because you can see a bit about why he was so highly coveted, like the smarts that he's got, the sort of delay game that he shows, his ability to sort of see secondary options with the puck on his stick, like just a really efficient hockey player. But you know, it kind of goes back to this whole thing we always talk about, which is like in the draft, especially like at the high end, skill and pace and fun and confidence matter so much.
Fun matters the most.
You know, it matters so much. And a guy who is smart and evasive and, you know, these guys where instead of like really dictating the terms of the game, they just react really, really well with their awareness and their timing. that's riskier to me as an NHL player, especially long term. But in Barrett Hayton's case, he's turned out to be quite a good hockey player. It's just, something to think about when it comes to the NHL draft moving forward. Looking at the deeper data for them, like there is a bit of a sign that Connor Ingram is, carrying them. I think he's got a 930 something save percentage in a year
ridiculous.
Where I think the average save percentage is like 895 or something this year.
So I looked at Evolving Hockey's goal save above expected, and he's got a goal save above expected in every single game he's played. He's 15 in 15 games, which is ridiculous.
And I don't think any goaltender ever has come even close to that over a full season. I'm pretty sure like some of the highest might have been like a year of Henrik Lundqvist where he finished the year at like 35 or 40. Like Dominik Hasek maybe ended up at like maybe that level as well a couple of times. So I don't think Connor Ingram's going to stay that good forever.
No, it's not sustainable at all.
But I think the offense is legit. And if there should be a dark horse team in the running for a guy like Sean Walker or Chris Tanev, like Toronto's not the only team that could be in the playoffs that could use a guy like Chris Tanev, right? That's the other thing. So, like I look at a guy like JJ Moser and Sean Dursey and Travis Dermott and Troy Stetcher and all the guys that are on that. Even Josh Brown is another one where it's like, yeah, like Connor Ingram kind of has to stand on his head in a lot of situations because this isn't the most defensively dependable lineup on their back end. So if they can fix that and move forward with a group that might be a little bit more solid, whatever that means, then that fills a gap that I think is one of the only gaps that team has. I mean, they don't have that elite top end talent, but I mean, I think if they do make the playoffs, they could be a team that kind of pushes teams around a little bit and really sort of puts some pressure on some teams that might appear better than them. Oh, and you have it written here. I don't know what the source is on this, but that they're interested in Noah Hannafin, and that
I heard
might
it from
not be exactly what
Elliot
I'm talking
Friedman.
about. Okay, so Elliot Friedman.
It was on a 32 Thoughts podcast earlier in the season that they apparently are interested in potentially making that happen.
Right. Well, I mean, that would be a decision. I think Noah Hannafin would be an upgrade on like say a Travis Dermott, right? Yeah. Like he would be an upgrade for sure. And they have the cap space, I suppose, to go out and be creative and do multiple things if they think they can get better. Because I do think like adding a legitimately solid defensive presence for them would really, really help things along.
For sure. I just think they're not going to really, like, they shouldn't go out and spend a ton. Like, they're in a position as a younger up-and-coming team. I hope they win a cup.
They're going to win the cup.
I hope they win a cup. No, they're not winning the cup this year. But I hope they win a cup because I'd really like to see hockey work in Arizona. But getting back to my point, as I try and remember it.
My apologies.
It's okay. The defense, like guys like Dmitry Simashev, who they have in the pipeline, are guys that are going to come in later and help out with those issues. And I think if they're going to acquire guys, they're going to go after younger players. So they'd be more interested in the Sean Walkers, where they have more capital to give away and actually get a younger player that matches with their group's age, right? So, like, I don't see them going after Chris Tanev.
I just...
What are you laughing at?
I thought they had a lot of draft picks to play with, and I just went to their cap friendly. I'm just going to run through this. This is just the first 3 rounds of the next 3 drafts. They've got their own first round pick in this year, next year, in 2026. That's it. Second round, they've got their pick, Florida's pick, and Washington's pick this year. Their pick, Toronto's pick, Edmonton's pick, and the Rangers' pick next year. And their pick, the Rangers' pick, and the Senators' pick in 2026. In the third round, they have their pick, Colorado's pick, Edmonton's pick. They have their pick in 2025 and a conditional Rangers pick that year. And they've got their pick in 2026 and Carolina's 2026 third round pick. And they've got 2 fourth-round picks this year and 2 seventh-round picks. So
my God,
they got toys to play with. Like, even if they trade 2 seconds and a third for a good young player who they can control, who's maybe not super high end, but like will add something there, they'll have more than enough to play with where they can draft all the big, gigantic, tough boys they could ever want, because they certainly drafted a lot of those last year. So the Coyotes are quite well set up to be a very good team in my mind by, if they're not already quite good, 25, 26, like something like that. And, when Clayton Keller's sort of at that tail end of his 20s, I mean, I hope they're better before then. I would really like to see them, make a run or two, because they're a ton of fun to watch. But in any case,
it'd be a great story for sure.